let's get into it. Spurs Talk with Dahanu, back like I never left. Well, I did leave. I left for some time. But I told y'all, once the semester starts, the videos, it's going to be scarce. And by the way, I had an exam today. Let's just say I did well without doing well. You know what I mean? I took my C and I exited the door. But I'm here, man. I missed a lot of discussions. And I really, what boiled my skin is what Stephen A. Smith said about Greg Popovich starting player resting. He's not wrong, but he's wrong. And I think a lot of journalists is taking the genius away from Greg Popovich. They taken the genius away from Greg Popovich. They basically said, oh, he was resting players because he was upset at David Stern. No, that's not the case. That's taking away the genius of Popovich. He had an older team. It's an 82-game season. Popovich looked at his squad and said, we're good enough to make the playoffs. We don't care about first seed, fourth seed, because we know once Duncan, Parker, and Ginobili's on the floor, home and away games don't matter. Home and away games don't matter. You got 3 Hall of Famers on the floor. They can go to anybody's playground and win. So by them saying, oh, he was just having an issue with David Stern, so he said out his players, no. And this is how you know they don't watch the Spurs. He just didn't do that on national TV games. He did that on the games that wasn't televised nationally. He had older players. Duncan was exiting his prime. Tony Parker in his late 20s, early 30s. Ginobili, early 30s. So you probably say, well, Tony Parker's case, well, he could have. Well, why rest him? Well, you don't want him to play the 82 games straight. You want everybody fresh for the playoffs. That was his goal. His goal is, I'm not playing Duncan, who's been playing for like, at this time when he started it, Duncan was probably in his 12th season. I'm not running him to the ground with 82 games. I'm going to rest him some. Ginobili. You know, and everybody knows how Ginobili plays. He's wild. He throws his body everywhere. And he's in his 30s now. No, I'm resting him. I want him for the playoffs. If he would have rested Ginobili that last game, I think it was against Phoenix, where he broke his arm. If we could have rested him that game, if we rested him that game, do we lose to the Grizzlies that series? If we had a full healthy Ginobili, do we get eliminated by the Grizzlies? So that's the genius of Popovich. That's the genius. It had nothing to do with David Stern. Greg Popovich sat back and he thought, how can I keep my players healthy for the playoffs? Also, Duncan had plantar fasciitis that year as well. He was suffering from. So Popovich is looking like, how can I keep my players healthy for the playoffs? It had nothing to do with David Stern. And these journalists, you can tell they don't watch San Antonio Spurs. They probably just turn on the highlights. Because remember, San Antonio wasn't respected in this country when it comes to basketball. There was respect. I mean, I'm talking about in popular culture. In basketball, yes, San Antonio Spurs we definitely respect it. But when it comes to media coverage, during our dynasty years, how often you heard the Spurs on ESPN? How often you heard them spoke about on ESPN? We had the best power forward in the league, best power forward all time. All his accolades. How many times was he mentioned on ESPN? You probably can count it on your hands. He probably was mentioned more times when he retired and got inducted to the Hall of Fame than he did his whole entire career. So you mean to tell me these journalists who go on these sports shows, they gotta prep, and if they prepping, they're gonna prep for what by watching the games and getting information from what they're going to talk about on that show. So you mean to tell me as they prepping to talk about all these other teams and all these other leagues, they say, "Oh, you know what? Let's put on San Antonio." They're not doing that. And so people like Stephen A. Smith said, "Oh, because you know what they remember? This is what they remember. What they remember is the game against Miami when Popovich sent them home. But he was already doing player resting before that. And so that's how you know that they don't watch the Spurs. They don't. They never covered us like that. Because when they talk about Jordan passed the baton to Kobe, yeah, I love Kobe. But why they skip over Duncan like Duncan didn't exist? Like Duncan wasn't a 2-time MVP back to back. Like Duncan wasn't he never lost under 50 games. So why wasn't Duncan in that discussion? You know why? Because Duncan didn't play for Los Angeles. Duncan didn't play for the New York Knicks. He played for San Antonio. The media don't go down there. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. That they taking away the genius of Greg Popovich. Because Popovich did that because his players was old. And guess what? Other teams was like, you know what? We can do that with our young star players. Greg Popovich never did that to a 25-year-old Tim Duncan. You know, if you don't laugh, you cry. So I had to come on here to speak my mind about that, because that made me annoyed that they out there messing the story up and taking away the genius of Greg Popovich, and I'm not here for it. So we had other things that happened. We had we released a few players. I thought Reggie Bullock was a player that we could have used on our team. I thought he was a viable asset. But I can see why. I think that was more Reggie Bullock than a San Antonio Spurs organization. I think that, you know, when you look at Champagnie and how he played last year and what he showed in a summer league this year, he's a 3-level scorer. Score outside, mid-range, inside, effort on defense. I don't think Bullock was getting in front of that. So I think Bullock was like, I want to play. I want to have floor time. I ain't coming to sit on the bench and get a little bit of floor time. So I think it was more on Reggie Bullock. I think Bullock wanted out. But, you know, you got to respect that decision. This is what I think. I'm not saying it's true because obviously I'm not there. But when you look at the roster, like Reggie Bullock is only a 3D guy. And if you're looking at it from that aspect, they play the same position. You got one guy who can shoot from all areas of the floor and put effort on defense. So he does what you do on defense, but he can score the ball in many different ways. So obviously, he's going to get the more time. He's going to get more time. It ain't like Champagnie's going to be a starter. He's coming off the bench. So then you got other players on the bench. Malachi Branham. Well, you know, I think Reggie Bullock's mindset was, I want to play. And so it happened. He had to go. I think we brought him out. But yeah, But I just think that that was an important sign. I think that would have been a good signing for us if he would have stayed. Because we seen the injuries. We seen Trey Jones go down. We seen um, Devin Vassell missed games last year. Keldon Johnson missed games. So, players is going to go down. I thought that Reggie Bullock would have been an excellent player for depth. But I guess if we were a contending, I'm pretty sure he would have stayed. If we were a contending team. But you got to respect it. So let's jump into, I'm bouncing all over the place. I'm trying to make this quick. I don't like my videos being long, but Devin Vassell, he's my favorite Spur. He's been my favorite Spur since his second year. I started seeing okay, this guy gonna become good. He's gonna become good. So he's my favorite Spur. I know people gonna stone me how Victor not your favorite, or no, he's my favorite Spur. Because he can score in so many ways. He got the potential to be an excellent defender, which we're going to talk about later, or we're going to touch on later, not really talk about. I wish we can talk about it, but I want my videos to be brief, because I'm not even. I get into that later, but yeah. So he signed the extension, which I'm happy to see. I'm happy he's going to be here with us for a while. Hopefully the core guys all stay with us for a while, because I'm telling you, if this team grows together, I don't see how we don't be contended for championships in the next 4 years. In 4 years, we should be one of the top teams in the league with this roster. That's if they improve, though. It's up to them to improve. It's up to them to go to the gym and continue to work on their game, continue to play together, unselfishly. And yeah, I really think this team should be starting to contend in 4 years. So yeah, he signed. So I'm happy with that. Let's jump on to the next topic. Let's roll along. And talk about the training camp training camp day, whatever you want to call it. I missed media day. I really wish I wasn't busy, but I was studying for a test, an exam. But let's talk about media days. Not media days, training camp. I think 2 days ago was the training camp, and he had a couple interviews. It was Trey Jones' interview, and it was a Victor interview that really put us. Well, the Victor interview. Something interesting he said there, and the Trey Jones interview, they said very interesting things that spoke out to me. So let's you hear this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's feeling really good. We had a new hire of a shooting coach that I've been working with. He's been working with a bunch of us, and he's amazing. We've been watching film, working on my jump shot a lot, but just continuing to work on all areas of my game and trying to make sure that the areas I do well, I can continue to grow and do even better at a high level.
How was playing in here compared to other places played?
So yeah, Trey Jones talking about shooting. Also, wait, he said more. But him talking about improving his jump shot. Is huge. And the reason why that's huge is because that's the only thing in his game that I believe is missing offensively. I think he passed the ball well. I think he's more under control than the guards we have. I think the only thing that was missing was nobody was afraid of him shooting the basketball. So even though last year was like his first time actually getting the keys to the team as the point guard, I feel like, how could I say this? I feel like that was his real rookie season, if that makes sense. So for him getting that many games, and he wasn't really known as a three-point shooter, I think this is the year he got to start getting around that average, that NBA average of 34%. hopefully, 33, 34% from behind the arc, and I'll be satisfied. That's like probably what a three percentage jump, but that's a big percentage. Going from around 29 to 30% to 34%, that's a huge jump. Even though the number, when you look at the numbers, it doesn't say much, but it is a huge jump. So he did say more. He did say more. So I gotta put that back up because he did say more.
I'm working on my jump shot a lot, but just continuing to work on all areas.
He did say more.
Shot a lot, but
and I'm just trying
just
to
continuing to work on all areas of my game and trying.
I just let it play because he also
the areas I do well.
I should have paused it.
And do even better at a high level.
Not really good with the software. So here we go. This is the next thing.
Obviously, I know my role on this team is just trying to be a leader for us and trying to be a point guard on the court at all times. Obviously, we talk about the game going kind of positionless, but I think that the point guard position is always going to be important one way or another. And so I'm trying to just be an extension of coach on the court, just knowing what he wants and trying to help all the guys out get into the spots that we need and just setting everybody up.
After day one of training camp, what areas of improvement do you want to see before we start the season? What are you like, I want us to get better at this?
Defense, for sure. We want to be very aggressive this year. We want to defend the ball really hard, force guys, to just force it to be tougher on guys this year. Last year we kind of let people have their way against us, and we don't want that this year. So we'll pick up our defense for sure, and the rest will take care of itself.
Coming back on Victor,
So there, you gotta love what he said about the point guard position, about that knowing his role on a team. Those things are very refreshing to hear. It's very refreshing to hear because I've seen a lot of, I don't want to call it hate, but criticism his way last year. A lot of people thought we should have got rid of Trey Jones. Even to this day, they think we should get rid of Trey Jones. I always was said, this guy is a championship point guard. And then people say, when I say championship point guard, like what am I talking about? Am I talking a person that goes out and give you 20 points a game? No. What I mean by championship point guard is he's a guy that can settle things down. When I see him play, our team is more under control. And he made an excellent point about being that extension of the coach, because that's what I was seeing, and that's a championship point guard. A championship point guard is just an extension of the coach. Make a leader, making sure everybody's where they're supposed to be. And we come into this this era, I should say, where, man, if you ain't putting up numbers, then you're trash. That's not basketball. Basketball is not just about numbers. That's why Bruce Bowen is in my top 10 all-time Spurs list. Bruce Bowen wasn't putting up a lot of numbers, but he was a huge deal to our dynasty. So when I say Trey Jones is a championship point guard, people automatically think, oh, points. Look at his numbers. He only averaging this. No, it's what I'm seeing. It's what I'm seeing. Like, how can you, for an example, Boris Diaw. He ain't put up a lot of he ain't put up a gaudy stats, but he was important to our championship. And that's what I'm seeing in Trey Jones. I think if he continues to develop, he's a championship point guard. We don't have to have people averaging 30 in every position. We don't have to have that. We have to have people who, like he said, know his role. DeJounte Murray is good, but I don't think he's a championship point guard. I used to argue with my nephew all the time. I think James Harden is phenomenal. He's not a championship player. You know a championship player when you see it. It's not about the stats. James Harden is a phenomenal player, but he's not a championship player. So that's my my thing on that. But also, he mentioned defense, and I listening to training media day and then the training camp videos. A lot of effort is put on defense, and defense. I was saying it all last year. It was horrendous. It was horrendous. I never seen players play worse defense. And yes, I think I said it weeks ago, in the summer. I said that's an area that we need to improve on because players was just going by our players like they wasn't there. And that used to put Jakob Poeltl in foul trouble. So I'm glad that they're going into this training camp with that in mind. Like, we got to tighten up our defense. Because that's an important area, the most important area. And it was shocking to see a Popovich team play that bad on defense. So what I'm on, running to the next time. I'm looking at this timer because I really didn't want to make a long video. I really didn't. I don't like my videos being too long because, number one, I know y'all busy out there. I know everybody has a life, and I don't like to keep people looking at their phones or their devices all day. We should be more active and participate in life instead of looking at TV, phones, or our devices. So I'd be trying to make it short as possible. But yeah. So our next topic is what Victor said. So let's go and see why I was pleased with not pleased. This is like, I was kind of back and forth actually. I wasn't really pleased about what he said because it worries me, but then it's exciting at the same time. All right, there. So and I apologize. I'm so hungry. Like, my stomach is growling because literally right after the test, I kind of jumped right on here. So it's been a long day, and I just like, you know what? I'm not going to eat. I got to make a video. I got to get a lot of things off my chest, particularly the Stephen A. Smith comments. And he's not the only journalist who said those things. But so yeah, so y'all might hear my stomach talking. Hopefully y'all don't. Hopefully I can edit that out. I'm unsure. But yeah. So what Victor said, that kind of made me excited. Like, oh, he Popovich trying him at Trey Jones' position, the 3, the 4. Well, obviously the 4. He's playing a lot of positions, and then that's exciting to see. That's going to be exciting to see. But is it spontaneous though? I'd rather it be spontaneous. Like, if we look at Denver, we look at the film, we already know, okay, Jokic's just going to bring the ball up. Sometimes he's going to initiate the offense. Sometimes that's not spontaneous. We know it's coming. And obviously we know, obviously teams are already expecting Victor to be, initiating the offense, being on the perimeter a lot. But I like it spontaneous. I like for him to end up there rather than consciously being there, if that makes sense. Like, for that to be the base, like, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. Because you can predict that. And you can plan for that. Whereas, though, if it's spontaneous, that's why I like the motion offense. And if I was in the media, maybe I, instead of going to school to be a nurse, maybe I should have went for journalism. But if I was I will ask Popovich, what made you get away from the 13, 14, and 15 brand of basketball? Those 3 years, we played the most beautifulest game of basketball. That motion offense changed the game. Why? It was beautiful to watch. It was hard to defend. That's spontaneous basketball, because when you scouting a team and you gotta plan for them, you're watching film, you like, okay, who do we plan for as an individual? Obviously, you plan for everybody. Hey, you can't leave him open. He don't like going this way. You point out the weaknesses, but emotion offense helps mask a lot of people's weakness. A lot of people's weakness. Right? If we played that Miami team without that brand of basketball, we lose. We should have been back-to-back champions. But we lose that second finals against the Miami Heat if we don't play that game of basketball. Because what it does, okay, we already know with Parker, when they come down pick and roll, dunking in the post, Ginobili basically do the same thing, run the offense the same way Parker does, pick and roll. He just add a little spices to it. But when that ball is kicking and moving and bodies is moving, they couldn't stop it. They couldn't stop it. That's spontaneous offense. Spontaneous offense. So Victor saying he playing in multiple positions. It is going to be exciting to see. We probably have mismatches, but that's the thing. If he get the mismatch, do he ISO and take him closer to the basket, or is he going to shoot it? You know what analytics going to say? Analytics going to say you better shoot that three. You don't even know he's 6'2". You don't even see him shoot that three. I'm old school. If you get a switch and this is a 6'3" guard on him, you got to go to the paint. It don't have to be a post up. Like backing them down from the 3-point line. It don't have to be that, because Victor got the handles. Just go to the basket. Just go to the basket. I'm making it sound easy, but just go to the basket, please. Because they used to tear me up. Well, actually, analytics would disagree. With Aldridge, but it used to tear me up when he used to have a smaller guy on him and he'd do a fadeaway jump shot. It used to bother me. It really used to bother me. But yeah, that's all I have. This video was about to be 30 minutes. I really, really didn't expect it to be this long, and forgive me. But more Spurs talk is probably going to be coming. I probably try to do it from my phone, like recording from my phone. Just to, because I waited so long to get that Stephen A. that Stephen A. ran out. Unbelievable. He got it wrong. And I'm getting old. I'm telling you, nursing school is aging me. Look at this ball spot. Aging me. Don't tell nobody that's there. But anyway, well, I just told anybody who viewed this video that is there. But yeah, that's a ball spot. Man. It's not a part. It's a ball spot. I'm telling you, nursing school is stressful. But I'm out. Peace and blessings.